The movie begins with a beautiful princess named Snow. Snow loved ice skating more than anything, so she dressed up and began skating gracefully. Meanwhile, her stepmother, the queen of the kingdom, was secretly watching her. The queen was very proud of her own beauty, but she envied Snow's charm and grace. Later, the queen stood before her magic mirror and asked, "Mirror, mirror, tell me, who is the most beautiful in this kingdom?" The mirror replied, "Snow." Hearing this, the queen's face turned red with rage. Meanwhile, Snow continued skating happily. It was her birthday, and everyone in the kingdom came to wish her well. Snow had a pure and kind heart, so people loved her dearly. Surrounded by her friends, she danced joyfully to celebrate her special day. Suddenly, the commander arrived and said, "Your Majesty, the king's health has worsened." Hearing this, Snow rushed to her father's chamber. The king had been sick for months, and he knew his time was near. Before dying, he made the queen promise to take good care of Snow after his death. The queen agreed, but the moment the king took his last breath, she showed no sadness at all. In just a few days, the queen took control of everything. The entire kingdom mourned the king's death, but inside another chamber, the queen and her minister were secretly celebrating. They had always wanted the king gone so they could rule the kingdom themselves. However, they began to argue over who should hold the real power and what to do with Snow. Following the queen's orders, the soldiers captured Snow and threw her into prison. The soldiers felt heartbroken, for they loved the princess dearly. Even the commander apologized to Snow and swore that one day he would help her reclaim her throne. Now, the story shifts to a young man named Xavier, who was performing a play in front of three old men. Xavier was an orphan, raised by these very three elders, who were also stage performers. They had taught him everything they knew about acting. After his performance, the three elders began telling him a story from their past. Many years ago, they were performing in a town. During one of their shows, they accidentally angered the townspeople. In the act, they displayed a bottle, claiming it contained a magic hair growth potion. They invited one of their companions on stage and said, "Look at his hair. It's shiny and thick thanks to this potion." But then an old man in the audience shouted, "They're lying. I used that potion and all my hair fell out." The crowd was unsure whom to believe until one of the performers, trying to prove the potion's power, accidentally lifted his wig, revealing his bald head. The audience exploded in anger. The three old men barely escaped with their lives. They ran and ran until they reached a riverbank where they saw a man trying to kill a child. The three jumped in to save the boy and fought the attacker. During the scuffle, the boy tried to escape but tripped on a rock and fell unconscious. Furious, the elders overpowered the attacker and threw him into the river. They rushed to the boy's side, checked his wounds, and then carried him away to safety. That boy, as we now know, was Xavier. A little later, the three old men reached home, and the child finally regained consciousness. He had hit his head on a rock, which caused him to lose his memory. One of the elders asked the boy his name, but he couldn't remember anything. That boy eventually grew up to become Xavier. The three old men wanted him to stop performing plays and instead search for his true identity, but Xavier refused. To him, the three old men were his only family. Together, the four of them began planning their next journey. Meanwhile, Snow sat sadly inside her prison cell, staring at the sky and remembering the happy days of her past. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she prayed, "Oh God, please bring my old days back." On the other side, the queen was scheming with her advisor Nelson. The magic mirror still declared Snow as the most beautiful in the land, which made the queen furious. Determined to become the fairest herself, she plotted to have Snow killed, no matter the cost. Soon, she and Nelson devised a secret plan to trap and kill Snow without anyone finding out. Nelson warned her, "Your Majesty, we must be clever. No one should ever suspect that we were behind Snow's death." The queen commanded, "I order you to use your magic sword to erase Snow's memory." But Nelson objected. "My queen," he said angrily, "that's not right. Using the sword this way breaks its sacred rules. I cannot use it on an innocent soul. If I do, the sword will lose its magic forever." A while later, a man came to Snow and said, "Your childhood friend is getting married today. The queen has granted you permission to attend the wedding." Hearing this, Snow's eyes lit up with joy, and she eagerly went with him. But this man was none other than the same person who, years ago, had been hired to kill Xavier, the one the three old men had fought to save him from. As Snow and the man rode together in a horse-drawn carriage, they eventually reached a lonely, deserted place. There, the man stopped the carriage and asked Snow to step down. When he drew his weapon to kill her, Snow fell to her knees and begged for her life. Her innocence and kindness melted the man's heart. He lowered his weapon and apologized. Snow asked, "Why do you want to kill me?" The man replied, "Your stepmother, the queen, ordered it. She's jealous of your beauty, but I can't do it. I owe your father too much. I'll spare you, run and never come back." Snow ran deep into the forest, frightened and alone. She just wanted to escape. Suddenly, a lion appeared in her path. She turned and ran the other way, terrified, until she stumbled upon a small house in the woods. No one seemed to be home, so she quietly went inside and lay down on a bed, exhausted and soon soon fell asleep. The next morning, Xavier's troupe was traveling to a new town to perform another play. Coincidentally, they stopped at the same house where Snow had spent the night. The house belonged to one of their acquaintances, and they planned to stay there for a few days. As the troupe entered, they were shocked to find a young woman sleeping on the bed. "Who is she?" "She's not one of us," one of them whispered. Xavier couldn't take his eyes off her. He was captivated by her beauty. It was love at first sight. Moments later, Snow woke up and was startled to see strangers around her. To calm her down, Xavier quickly introduced himself and his team. Snow told them who she really was, Princess Snow, the rightful heir to the kingdom, and explained how her stepmother wanted her dead. She begged them for help, believing this house belonged to them and that they were her only chance at survival. When everyone learned the truth about Snow, they were stunned. Her beauty was famous across many kingdoms, so Xavier's troupe instantly recognized her. Realizing she was the princess, the four of them bowed and said, "We may be just stage performers, Your Highness, but from now on, we're also your bodyguards. You don't have to worry about a thing." A little later, three of them went out to get food and water for the princess. But Snow said softly, "Actually, I'd like some flowers." The trio, however, misunderstood, thinking she said flour instead of flour. Trying to carry a sack of flour back, they slipped and ended up covered in white powder from head to toe. Meanwhile, the assassin who had been sent to kill Snow went to see Nelson, the queen's advisor. He lied, saying, "I have brought Snow's heart." He handed over a box, pretending it contained Snow's heart. Nelson believed him and delivered it to the queen. On the other side, Xavier's troupe went to the palace to request permission to perform their play. Nelson met them and said, "There must be no trouble here. You may perform." They told him, "We're going to show the queen a very special magic trick. She'll be delighted." The assassin, standing nearby, overheard everything and recognized the three old men. After Nelson left, the troupe hurried back home to tell Snow the good news. They had permission to perform in the palace. That evening, to cheer Snow up, the troupe decided to perform a small play just for her. Snow laughed and smiled as she watched. During the performance, Xavier made one of the puppet characters say, "I love you, princess." Snow blushed and, smiling shyly, replied, "I love you too." At that exact moment, a loud clap of thunder shook the sky. Everyone froze in fear. Snow whispered, "It's her, the queen. She wants me dead." Xavier and his team comforted her, trying to lift her spirits and make her forget her worries for a while. Back at the palace, the magic mirror revealed that Snow was still alive. Furious, the queen stormed into Nelson's chamber. "She's alive," she screamed. Nelson was shocked. "But your majesty, the assassin gave me her heart in this box." Was he lying? The queen hurled the box at him. "Fool, this is an animal's heart." Realizing he'd been deceived, Nelson ordered guards to capture the assassin immediately. Soon, the assassin was caught. In pain, he confessed that he had let Snow go. Hearing this, the queen flew into a rage and ordered, "Hang him at once." Meanwhile, Snow and Xavier had reached a quiet, lonely part of the forest. There, Xavier finally confessed his love for her. Snow's eyes filled with tears of happiness. She admitted she loved him too. They drew closer, hearts pounding, about to share their first kiss, when suddenly, the three old men arrived shouting, "Princess, we saw soldiers in the woods." Startled, Xavier and Snow looked around, and indeed, soldiers were approaching. Xavier quickly told Snow, "Go with them, I'll hold them off." Snow and the old men ran to hide, while Xavier stayed behind to mislead the soldiers. When the soldiers reached him, they demanded to know where the princess was. Xavier refused to answer, and his silence enraged them. They arrested him on the spot. Hidden behind the trees, Snow and the old men watched helplessly as Xavier was taken away. Soon, the soldiers began searching for the rest of them too, after learning from the assassin's confession that they had helped Snow escape. When they couldn't find them, the soldiers returned to the palace empty-handed. Soon, Xavier was brought face to face with the assassin, and the guards asked him, "Do you know this man?" Xavier shook his head. "No, I don't." At the queen's command, an old maid was brought in. She was the one who had raised Xavier as a child. Everyone was shocked when she revealed the truth. Xavier was actually the son of the king's third wife, making him the rightful heir to the throne. She told them that Xavier bore the royal birthmark on his chest, proof of his lineage. When the queen saw the mark, she became furious and immediately ordered him to be thrown into prison. Xavier was locked up deep inside the palace dungeon. The next day, the three old men arrived at the palace disguised as vegetable sellers, hoping to find a way to rescue him. One of them sneaked into the royal kitchen and tried to knock out the cooks, but failed. Meanwhile, the other two climbed out of their vegetable baskets and joined him. Together, the three of them managed to knock everyone unconscious. A short while later, they disguised themselves as palace cooks and brought food to Xavier's cell, but the guard refused to let them deliver it directly. Suspicious, he checked the food himself and found hidden tools inside the dish. Before he could raise the alarm, the old men acted fast, knocking him out cold. They unlocked the cell and helped Xavier escape. As the group ran through the corridors, soldiers spotted them, and a fierce chase began. Xavier grabbed a sword and fought bravely, holding them off as long as he could. But then one soldier fired an arrow arrow. It struck Xavier, and he collapsed to the ground, badly wounded. Among the soldiers was William, who knelt beside him and looked closely at the mark on Xavier's hand. His eyes widened. He had seen that royal symbol before. Meanwhile, the three old men kept running, pursued by more soldiers. To hide, they slipped behind a large curtain. The soldiers ran past, unaware. Moments later, the Queen and Nelson arrived near the same curtain. William hurried to them and reported, "The prisoner who tried to escape, he's a prince. I saw the royal mark on his hand. He must be the lost heir." The Queen was shocked but snapped, "Forget him. I want Snow. Bring her to me alive." After the Queen left, the old men tried to sneak away, but slipped and fell from behind the curtain, landing right at Nelson's feet. Before he could react, they attacked him, snatched his magic sword, and ran for their lives. Nelson grabbed a weapon and chased after them. Meanwhile, the palace soldiers, realizing Xavier was of royal blood, carried his wounded body to be treated. Soon after, the three old men found Snow and told her everything that had happened. They quickly placed her in a horse-drawn carriage and fled, with soldiers still chasing them. They drove as fast as they could through the forest, hiding behind bushes whenever possible. When the soldiers rode past, they quietly turned the carriage around to throw them off their trail. The soldiers, realizing they had been tricked, turned back in anger. To make their escape more convincing, the old men came up with a plan. They stopped the carriage on top of a steep cliff, unhitched the horse, and pushed the carriage over the edge. It crashed below, breaking into pieces. When the soldiers arrived and saw the wreckage, they assumed everyone had died and left the area. After the coast was clear, one of the old men sighed with relief, but then said, "We should go back. We can still save Xavier." By accident, his hand brushed against the magic sword and he muttered, "I wish we were in a place where no soldier could ever find us." The sword began to glow, and in an instant, a flash of light surrounded them. The next moment, Snow and the three old men were standing high atop a mount far away from the Queen's reach. Soon, everyone realized that all this was happening because of Nelson's magic sword. Once again, the sword was used, and this time, it transported them to a large, cozy house where a warm fire was burning. After resting for a while, Snow said determinedly, "We have to save Xavier." She wanted to use the sword's magic to travel to him and bring him back, but the three old men tried to stop her. "Princess," they said softly, "Xavier is gone. We saw him fall, he's dead." Hearing that, Snow broke down in tears. Yet deep inside, she refused to believe them. She could feel that Xavier was still alive. Back at the palace, the Queen learned from her magic mirror that Snow was alive, and she was furious. She demanded, "Mirror, tell me, where is Snow?" The mirror replied, "She is in a magic house." The Queen called Nelson and told him what she'd seen. But Nelson said helplessly, "I can't do anything without the magic sword." Enraged, the Queen returned to the mirror and ordered, "Show me Snow." The mirror obeyed and revealed Snow weeping for Xavier. The Queen sneered and stormed back to Nelson. "Prepare the magic potion," she commanded. "I'll drink it. Turn me into a witch so I can kill her myself." Meanwhile, Xavier had survived. He was recovering fast and secretly inspiring the other prisoners to rise against the Queen. She tried to kill Princess Snow, he told them. "Now it's time we fight for our freedom." The prisoners and even some soldiers rallied behind him, ready to fight. Back in the palace, Nelson handed the Queen the magic potion, but warned her it comes with a curse. The Queen didn't care. She drank it in one gulp, and in an instant, her face twisted, her beauty vanished. She had become a wicked witch. Looking into the mirror, she still saw herself as beautiful. Nelson then handed her a poison apple and said, "This will end Snow's life forever." Outside the palace, Xavier led his followers in a rebellion. They stormed the castle gates, and a fierce battle broke out. Xavier fought courageously alongside his men. During the fight, Nelson appeared. Believing Nelson had captured Snow, Xavier attacked him. The two clashed in an intense duel, and in the end, Nelson was killed. The Witch Queen, now carrying the poison apple, set out towards Snow's hideout. Upon arriving, she drank another potion, transforming herself into an old woman. She knocked on the door, shivering. "Please, child," she said weakly, "I'm freezing." Snow, kind-hearted as always, led her inside to warm up. Once the witch felt better, she offered Snow the shiny red apple and then disappeared into the forest with a wicked smile. Later, the three old men were returning home when the witch appeared before them, mocking, "You fools! While you were out searching for food, I killed your precious Snow." Cackling, she vanished. One of the old men, furious, gripped the magic sword and shouted, "I want to see this witch's death." The sword glowed brightly, and moments later, the witch screamed in agony. The sword's magic had destroyed her. When the old men reached the house, they found Snow lying on the floor, motionless. They immediately realized what had happened, the poison apple. They tried to revive her using the magic sword, but it didn't work. The sword, after all, had been stolen by Nelson from the king through deceit, and its true power was fading. Meanwhile, Xavier had taken control of the palace. He ordered his men, "Find Princess Snow now." His advisors told him sadly, "She's gone, my lord." The magic mirror revealed her death. Refusing to accept it, Xavier went to the mirror himself and demanded, "Show me Snow." The mirror shimmered, and and revealed her resting place. Without a moment's hesitation, Xavier set out to find her. When he arrived, he saw the old men mourning beside Snow's still body. They told him everything: the poisoned apple, the queen's trickery, the witch's death. Heartbroken, Xavier knelt beside Snow. As he gently held her hand, a tear fell onto her cheek, and suddenly, Snow's eyes fluttered open. Everyone gasped with joy. Snow looked up at him and smiled softly. In that moment, light filled the room. The curse was broken. Snow and Xavier embraced, their love stronger than ever, and from that day on, their love became eternal.